to see you all. I can't get you all on one screen, so I'm going to keep shooting around and seeing you different places. And first thing, just to say to you all, thank you so much. I mean, I'm just reports from all over regions. Everybody's doing really well. I can't believe that COVID's been around since 24th of March, the first lockdown. It's almost like the whole year has been. I actually had a dental problem here, a tooth fell out, broke on the 20th of December, 2019, and it's still not fixed yet. And so it's going to be fixed on the 22nd of December. So a year, my whole year's been, that's why enough of a lot of meetings, you've seen me like that, because I'm trying to cover it up, and you're thinking, so it's, I think those that knew, well, they keep putting crowns in and they fall out. And I think we have challenges that we never had before, but I wanted to thank you all, because I know it's special, it's hard. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to just share some thoughts about where we're at. As we go along, you'll find out, you know, there's a lot of things which says chat on your thing. I think everybody knows how to use Zoom nowadays, but hopefully you can ask questions. And we want to try and encourage you to, if there's anything you want to ask or you think something, say that. Carl will be monitoring that, and we know your name, what you say. So just you can ask anything. We'll try and answer questions. We'll have a point later on when we will split into random groups, and Zoom just does that to you. So if you feel you've been put in a really nasty group, it's not personal. It's just the luck of the draw, sort of the spontaneous expression of the grace of God, because we don't believe in luck, do we? So it's just like the spontaneous expression of the grace of God and the mercies of God that will put you in that group. But when you get in that group, I'll remind you before you go, one of our ideas is that everyone should be able to talk and share something, and because one of my big challenges is to make sure that we hear what you're trying to say. So that's part of that will be about. Then we'll share back any issues that come up by the end. We're aiming for an hour of your time, if that's all right. So roughly, so as you know, really, that's what we're going for. And I think I've got a few points to say. It's not really a sermon, but I think one of the things we have to bear in mind that this is, it's an open and shut case. Where we're at the moment now is it takes one announcement for all the close down to happen. And remember, I used to say to people when churches started closing their Sunday evening services, and I think, you know, that's pretty much gone most places. But I remember when we were discussing it, saying, be careful, it takes one announcement on a Sunday to close your Sunday night service. It will take you a year to open up again. And what we're finding out is it took the government just like one statement, just said, you can't meet, and bang, it happened. We all closed down. And I have to say, on the whole, I think the church actually showed the world how to do that. I think that we obeyed, we did everything right. I think that we've been very good at compliance with everything the government said. I mean, we closed down, but opening up is a bigger challenge, because closing down is just, you just stop doing something. I think, don't be depressed by this, it could take a year to get things back, to get 76 months. 2021 isn't the return to normal. 2021 will be a stepping stone to the new situation. And I think that the new normal is that everything's changing. So don't overestimate what will happen in the next 6 months. I think a lot of it's going to be sort of quite hard work. It could take 6 months, a year. There's lots of there's vaccines on the way, and that sounds great too. But we'll be talking to you a little bit about vaccines and things, because that's going to be a challenge in itself. If you've not been asked by people in the church yet, should we have the vaccine, yes or no? What about this thing that's something to do with an aborted fetus? What about the ethics of taking that? What about the fears of it changing my DNA? And it's almost unbelievable. I have had people say to me, they really do believe Bill Gates started all this, and we're all going to have something placed inside of us. And I think, well, if it's that small, how do you know there's not two in every vaccinate? I mean, I don't really understand it all, but we will have people asking all those sort of questions, and we have to be ready. with an answer that's not a fob off, because if people ask you a question on that, it's because they're quite concerned about it. And we'll give you links to things later on of Malcolm Duncan's done good things on it, and then Elam Nett's got answers on that. But we have to be ready. The shepherd has to have answers for some of these questions. So I'd encourage you to have some of those. And what are you going to do? Because I was at the hospital recently, and the nurse, we're talking the vaccine. I don't think nurses are meant to say this. She said, "Oh, I'm not having it." I said, what do you mean you're not? She said, "No, I'm not having it. It's not tested enough." I thought, "I'm sure you're not allowed to say that sort of thing." And she's put an injection into my eye at that point, and I'm sort of thinking, "I'm trusting you." And she said, "Well, will you have it?" I said, "Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'm not worried. I'll definitely have it." And you have to be ready, because somebody's going to ask you, "Are you going to have it? Which one are you going to have? And what's your understanding for it?" So it's not here yet. You've got a few months before you'll have to decide that, but it's got to be on the horizon, because you will be asked. I think to that whole traffic lights, I think I loved that illustration. I don't know who came up with it. I'd like to claim it was me, but I don't think it was. But of the reds, the ambers, and the greens, and like the greens are just loving it at the moment, because everybody's getting back, and just about every church is back before Christmas. Just about every church. There's only a few that haven't even tried that yet, but I know they're doing something, and people have been very creative. Our Chelmsford Church have had 40 carol services. They're going to have 40 carol services. You think, how have they done that? Well, what they did was they got a lorry and they went out the back, and they've been leafleting streets saying, "We're coming down your way tomorrow night," and singing about Jesus. And they've had hundreds of people. On average, 40, 50 people from the street have come out for the singing of Christmas carols. And you think, I love that. It's like the church is going out to the people rather than waiting for the people to come to us. And that's been really exciting. And that's good. So the greens have got something to do. Those are desperate to get back. The ambers are saying, "I want to get back, I'm not sure." And the reds are those to say, it's a long time before I'll come back. And I do think that's still staying with us. There's still about a third of each of those. There's still And do not be discouraged if the numbers turning back to your services are not huge. Don't be discouraged. If you're getting a third of the church when you start up, that's about right. It will grow from that. It won't go down. It will go up. And be patient with people. You've really got to be patient. There's a verse when Jacob comes back and meets with Esau, and he says to him, "You go ahead and I'll come at the pace of the women and children." You do need to remember you've got women and children and animals and livestock. Some of the church, you need to make sure those that are going to go fast can do so. You have to help those who have got worries, and you really have to help those who are locked in and feel they can't come. It's not because they don't love Jesus. It's not because they don't like the church. It's because they're worried. And I think we've done such a good job at telling people to be careful that they're scared to do anything. And so we have to just love on them a bit, be okay. I think too that we don't know what normal is going to be like. We just don't know. And it's, you make a mistake of thinking this will be over by Easter. It won't be. The thing's quoted a lot. People say, remember that income tax was a temporary measure, and that was to pay some national debt. It's still there. It's still there. And some of the things which people have done temporarily, they've just started changing the way they run their lives. If you do something temporarily for long enough, it becomes your new permanent way of doing life. And since March, a lot of people have got out of bed and sat around in their pajamas and switched their TV on and watched your church on YouTube. And they've been doing that for months and months and months. And now we're going to ask them to get out of bed, get baths, showered, whatever they do, get changed, get out of the cold, get in the car and come up to the building. And they say, "No, I can't. That's the new thing now. The new thing used to be staying at home. Now the new thing is getting out of bed and coming along to church." And offices are opening up, gyms are opening up, sports are opening up, but nothing's the same as it was before. Nothing's the same. And so it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge. And you realize that that what we used to call the normal is old. it's not people's tradition. There's some that are desperate to get back, and those that are desperate to get back often have a picture of something they will not see when they turn up. They want to go back to a full church, everybody hugging each other, having cups of tea, coffee, biscuits. That's what, that's not there at the moment. That's not there. So we have to encourage people and just be patient with them. Just be patient. Hopefully, because you're a leader, you're ahead of the thinking, not behind it. There's the most difficult group I find to deal with at the moment are pastors who are in the red group, because most pastors tend to be sort of green. I'm ready to go for it. There's a few in the amber, but and there's no right or wrong. It's just the way we're wired. Maybe your health issues, maybe age issues. Someone's just saying that I don't want to go back, and there's challenges. If you are more towards the red spectrum than the majority of your church, you will have tensions in your leadership because others will want to do it, and just accept that. It's okay. We used to have this little phrase which says, different is not wrong. And different is just different. It's not right or wrong. And we're all different, and you're allowed to be different. As long as your difference legal, if you prefer to steal than work, that's different, but it's not right. So you want to try and do something that's good and right, and have those sort of personal habits. I'm going to give you a little warning too. I got a feeling 2021 is going to be very busy. I think when we all closed down, it went quiet. I thought it might be quiet for a while, and then found out it wasn't quiet at all, really. It just got busy. People worked out you were contactable, and it's Zoom meetings, and I even dream about talking to people in boxes, and it's just the weirdest thing. It's like, actually, some of you might be old enough to remember the Muppets. The Muppets used to have people in rows like that, and that's what I knew. It reminded me of something when I see all these people in boxes. But it's the Muppet Show. But I have all that work has just come, and it's trying to work out a personal rhythm for yourself now. And I think one of the things is we have to be careful that online's been great, and there's a new rhythm. And almost life's become that little bit predictable, and we like that. I actually like a little bit of predictability. I've grown to enjoy that. I quite like that. But one of the problems which is facing the church more than anything is Kieran Yoff. He did a study of 75,000 leaders. What was their number one struggle throughout COVID? And you know what it was? Exhaustion. I think, well, most are just sitting at home. I mean, what on earth are you exhausted about? And it's a different sort of exhaustion. It's not like, if I run up the stairs, I'm thinking of putting oxygen at the top of our stairs just to help me every time I get up and down now. I think, because I'm not doing a lot of exercise, but sometimes you just feel emotionally tired, don't you? You just feel like I have my phone, like everybody else, you have your phone, and my phone is also my alarm clock. It's everything else. And if I wake up in the middle of the night, I find I was checking my emails in the middle of the night. I can't sleep. I switch it on, and I look at Facebook. I do all these sort of things, and I have some friends and pastors who are really early birds, and they love to phone you first thing in the morning. I think they want to find out if I'm awake or not. That's why I don't do FaceTime first thing in the morning. I'm not telling you what I'm doing. And then the people phone you during the day. And then there's those who know I don't go to bed early, and they'll phone me 10, 11 o'clock at night. And you think, well, actually, if you're not careful, if you do not put boundaries around your life, you will find every day becomes the same. And I don't know about you, but sometimes during lockdown, I've even wondered, what day is it? And talk about Groundhog Day. It's like every day is the same, but every day is a Monday. And I like every day to be a Saturday afternoon, but it's not. It's like if you're not careful, if you don't put boundaries around your time. We talked about this before, but if you want to have a garden, if you want to have a private space, you do need to make sure, please, that your family has a field that nobody gets into. It's not wrong to say not to answer your phone. It's not wrong just to lay it down. Wouldn't it be scary to leave your phone downstairs one night and not take it to bed with you? Wouldn't that be an interesting thing to try? Wouldn't it be interesting just to say to your wife or your husband and your children and your family, just to say, actually, I'm not taking my phone today. We're just going to have time off. It's just us. Now, I've got to confess to you, I don't know I'd be very good at that. That's why Mandy's not on this, in case she hears it, really, because she knows I probably wouldn't do it. But I think it's something I need to think about, because I'm like that. I have on a couple of occasions gone out and realised I left my phone behind, and I'm worse than a teenager. I am worse than a teenager without a phone. I'm thinking somebody might phone me. It's like I didn't realise the whole world depended on me. I didn't realise that if I didn't have a phone, Elam could go bust. You know, that something terrible could happen. The world. I mean, maybe Prime Minister wants me or the Queen or something important, but actually, then when you get your phone, you get home and there's no missed calls. You think that's a bit disappointing. I just assumed they probably phoned Dave Redbond instead. They got a better answer, but I don't really know. And never make yourself irreplaceable, because you're not. None of us are. God will never put that on us. He gives us a sense of significance. A bit like Elijah said, I and I only am left. Well, God let him feel that for his own self-worth. He had thousands. He said, well, if you don't do it, I've got 3,000 or 4,000 I could choose from, because your sense of significance doesn't mean you're the only one that can do this. This is give you value, and God could do it any other way, but you need to do that. And I like that example of the donut, the donut principle. If you get like a donut, a lot of my illustrations are about food. I don't know why, it just seems that way. But you see, look at a donut, and it's crispy outside with sugar on it. It's almost like we all look like a donut, and on the outside, but on the inside, it's fluffy and food, but it gets eaten away. And if you don't keep refilling that, one day it's just a sugar coating that's left, and nobody can tell anything different. Just like your life, everyone just think your ministry's great, you're smiley, you're happy, you're great, and then something pushes against it, and the whole thing crumbles. You think, how did that happen? But it didn't just happen. It's been happening for a long time, and unless you keep feeding yourself, unless you keep filling yourself and getting into the presence of God and just overflowing with his love and getting yourself filled up, you will crumble one day. You will crumble one day. And the most important member of your congregation, forgive me, it is yourself. It's not selfishness. It's that self-responsibility to actually make sure that you're feeding yourself, and you get enough rest, you're doing all those things here. Just do it properly. I also find, and I haven't timed myself in this, so I hope I'm not going too long, but just one of the interesting things, talking to every pastor I've spoken to has agreed with me, and this happened to me too. There's been at least times in this lockdown where we felt depressed. I never feel depressed. I'm not that sort of person. Like Mandy, one of the things she loves of me, I'm like that, but when things are good, I'm like, I don't get up or down. I'm not like that. I'm not up and down. I'm not like that. She loves the fact I'm like that. I'm quite, I'm very good in a crisis. I'm very good. The thing that she hates most about me is I'm always like that. So it's the thing she loves about me is I'm always like that. And the thing she hates about me, because it's almost like, David, please panic. Then I know you're taking me seriously. And I think, well, so for me, actually, if I feel down, I don't know what to do with myself, because I'm not used to it. And I've had days when I just thought, I can't be bothered anymore. I just cannot be bothered. And then I'm okay. I realize it's a season, and it's partly because of what is happening around us. And I suspect I'm not that exceptional. I suspect that if I felt a bit like that, then probably most people have. And it's so I think it's okay, because it was okay for me. But it's what you do with that, really. And realize I've seen churches having problems in the leadership where people are getting grouchy with each other, but they never used to. But husbands and wives, First Mandy and I, we loved it. We didn't realize how much we loved each other until we were sort of locked in the house and not allowed to go anywhere. And Mandy's working in one office, I'm working in the other office. It's been great. But there have been moments when it's not been as great as I'd like it to be. If it's been recorded, I could tell you which days I would delete, because I'm fairly easy going, but man, no, I'm not saying it. She's a lovely woman, and so, but we all have moments, and so do you, and so do people in your church. So extra grace is needed right now. And you need to set up a rhythm that works for you, and the new unpredictability. The old predictability won't work, and holidays are not just the answer. It's not just say I'll take a few days off. That'd be great. We all need that. I really want to recommend to you that you tell everyone in your church that you will not be answering your phone over Christmas. You put it on answer phone, you listen to it for the emergency, and you only deal with it. They have to be, if somebody dies, they need to be able to get a hold of the pastor. But that's it. We're all taking a holiday over Christmas. You need to tell people that, be upfront about it and stick with it. And that's a good thing to do. But you need to set up a sustainable rhythm, and that brings me to the next point. But you have to recruit a lot of volunteers. There's going to be a lot of people going to have to do things. But when we went online, the people who have volunteered are probably different to the people who are doing volunteer stuff before. The welcome teams and stuff, you didn't need them. You didn't need the coffee and tea teams, but you will need them again now. And how can I put this? You're going to have to decentralize, because actually you probably find there's a small team of people who you get on very well with are helping you run the church right now. But once you get back, you're going to have a lot of people who are maybe not your best pals. And sort of some of the people, there's some bits of church you've not missed really, but they'll still be there. Those people will still be waiting for you. They've got 6 months of pastoral problems to share with you, and you're the only person who can help them. And they've been waiting for you, and they're just, have you got 5 minutes? People don't want 5 minutes. They're sort of they want to have 5 hours. But whenever somebody says, "Have you got 5 minutes?" I say, "No, I haven't. God, no, that's not going to be 5 minutes. It's going to be an hour. It's going to be an hour." And some of your best volunteers may be reds. There may be people who can't come back yet. There may be ambers. And it's just assume that they'll all turn up for everything you want them to is a wrong assumption. You can't assume that. Some of them, they won't come back. Some of them you can give jobs like to be welcome pastors online. But I'm sure we'll talk about this another time. But I've noticed that people who watch on YouTube watch on the biggest telly in their house. And so they're not in the chats. They don't chat. They don't put stuff on, so you don't hear anything about them. So you can't really even pass them online. You have to find ways of doing that. Here's a quote from John Wimber, if you remember who he was, the Vineyard guy. He said, "The ability to identify, recruit, train, and deploy a workforce is a single one denominator in the church worldwide for growing church." And he's just saying, if you want to grow a church, you have to learn how to identify, recruit, train, and deploy workforce. And we're going to have to do that. We're going to have to identify the new workforce, have to recruit them, train them, show them what they have to do, and then deploy them. Are you still awake? Here we go. The only thing you can be certain of is there's nothing you can be certain of. That's what I've decided out of lockdown. The only thing I'm certain is there's nothing you can be certain of, because Christmas is the 25th of December. And even before COVID, we were never ready for it. And I remember I used to announce sort of like in the 1st of January, saying, we weren't ready for Christmas this year. This next year is the 25th of December, so you'll be ready for it. But knowing the date, we're not even 100% certain. I think we're 100% certain about who's allowed to come. I think we are. We've certain ordered the food for that, and if the government change their mind, you can all come around our house. We've got enough food for an army and sort of people. I think you're allowed 3 households. I tell you what, if Boris changes his mind, I'm just going to send Mandy down because she will kill him. So, but I don't know. Even something that's like Christmas, you can't be sure about, because nothing's certain. Nothing's certain. And the big ability, perhaps we need more than anything, is flexibility. I used to say the ability that's most needed in the church is availability. That's true. But now it needs to be flexibility. We have to bring comfort and stability in the unpredictable time. So to love people and to take care of them. And then let me pull it together and just say from my bottom of my heart, really, well done, everyone. I have been so impressed by churches, large and small. And I'm particularly going to say to you, a lot of the small churches, you've done amazingly well. And actually, lockdown hasn't affected the small churches as badly as we worried about, because Zoom meetings, the services on Zoom, and the natural sort of community that happens seems to be pulling people together. So that's really good and helpful. And I want to encourage you for saying well done. I also want to encourage you to encourage other people, because your people need to be encouraged. You know how nice it feels when somebody says well done to you. I think, yeah, you need to encourage people now, because they're not seeing you. We're not having what I call the incidental fellowship, where you just bump into each other, go, hi, how are you? And you have like 5 seconds with somebody. It doesn't work on Zoom. It doesn't work with social distance in the same way. We have to really thank them for everything they've done. Because most members have stayed. Most members have stayed engaged. In our churches, 80% of the finances coming in. Now, what does that tell you? That tells you people are phenomenally faithful. And we need to thank, we don't thank them for giving the money. We just recognize, well done, you're faithful. And actually, if you needed to have a little test to tell you about your church, you found that they love Jesus. They really love Jesus. They love the church. They love you. And this has been, the church has come through this really strong. And that committed core are still just as committed. They're committed to the church, and encourage them, tell them how well they've done. Say, well done, everyone, really great. And as everyone, those who turn up, the greens, those who sort of have a little look around, the ambers, and those who are waiting to be helped, the reds, make sure somebody's phoning the people who are shut-ins. Don't let anybody be forgotten. Some people have a ministry just of phoning people up and chatting to them for half an hour. And do you know those people who, when they phone you, you cannot get them off the phone? Give them somebody else's number to phone and say, this is so-and-so, they can't get. Would you phone them up and just check on them? Because they're probably a little bit lonely and they want to talk to you. So give them somebody else who's a little bit lonely, and two needs a bit at one time, and give them guidance about the things to say, but be positive. You don't tell them, don't both come off on Prozac after having a chat, but rather encourage one another with good things. And last but not least, we're going to be splitting into groups. I'm not going to look at the chats. I'm not sure. I'll go to Carol in a minute. But if you've put anything down, that'd be really good for you to ask us any questions or say what you want to say. We have a list of dates coming out to you. I think you've got most of them already. We want to do some training Zooms. Zoominar, that's a new word. We've got some Zoominars and we want to sort of scratch where it itches. And so the first one's coming out on January 27th. We've got January 27th, the 9th of June, and 22nd of September all lined up for Zoominars. We want to talk about to people who've gone back and started church and who are doing, we want to scratch where it itches. And so one of the things that will be coming to you soon, they're going to send a little questionnaire out about how things are in your church, areas where you think you're doing well, areas where you think you do with a bit of help. And so I think it's maximum of 8 questions. Carl will tell you better, but we'd like to send that back quickly, because what we don't want to end up doing is telling you things you already knew. Think, well, it's nice to hear you say that. We already knew that. And that's affirmation, but we'd like to give you information rather than just affirmation. So we want to find out where's it scratching. What have you, maybe you've got something which you say is great. Like when Chelmsford told me they were taking a lorry out and doing carols around. I'm going to do 40 carol services outside. I thought, wow, I wish I'd known that in November and we could all done that. That's such a great idea. And there's some of you have such amazing ideas. I'd like to sort of see a bit more of that and begin to share that a little bit around. And also next year, we've got training days for elders in March. We're going to have a day of prayer on the 22nd of April. We're going to have a regional prayer day, and just keep these things in your diary. The dates are coming out to you. Breakfasts, we're going to try sort of online breakfasts, which is you will not be allowed to complain about the quality of the food when you've cooked it yourself. This just will not be allowed. Will not be allowed. Some as well, but it won't be as good. Some of the breakfasts cannot be replaced. But so we're looking to the area pastors to try and set that up, and the dates February time before we start doing that, because we feel we like to have those smaller groups of pastors meeting and just stop this isolation. My biggest concern is that anybody feels isolated, no one to talk to, and we have to make sure that doesn't happen. So we're doing as many means as we can to make sure that you connect in. I think, Carl, I probably finished 10 minutes ago, but I kept talking. But so nice to see you all. And Carl, can I hand back to you? Are you still there?
Yep. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, brilliant. So just to pick up on a few of those things that Dave mentioned at the end. So we've got that Zoom in January, which is going to be great. We've got Leon Evans has confirmed he's going to come and join us for that, which is great. We've already approached another pastor as well, so just waiting to hear back from them. And then the real plan with that is not just to bring these guys in just to share some stuff. We want to do that and some of their experience, but actually it's the discussion afterwards, I think, becomes the real kind of area where we can grow and help one another. And so that was the goal then in February, is to follow that up with some smaller Zooms. So hopefully area pastors are going to be in touch in the new year with a date for you just to jump onto a smaller Zoom and just to really just reflect, talk, have some growth time together as church leaders, kind of just sharpening one another. What was some of the standout for you? How can we help one another? How can we resource one another with some of those things? And so the plan then is to run that 3 different times through the year. For in that kind of format, and then hopefully sometime soon we'll be able to get back to the breakfasts that we've been able to enjoy and gathering physically as well. So I'll send those dates out. Hopefully today we'll get those dates out to you, and then also this survey that Dave mentioned as well. So please do look out for those coming your way. Dave, we've had a question come in from Suzanne, and I think this is the only question we've had. If anybody else wants to ask a question, please stick it in there. But she's asked, do you think we've seen the last closure of churches, or do you think we're going to face that again next year? Should we be prepared to challenge this? Do you want to just say anything on that before we go into breakout rooms?
Do you want a prophet's answer, or do you want just my answer? I think everything's uncertain, and I think it could even be regional. I think that I could see certainly in parts of the country, we could have churches closed again. I think it's always going to be an option. I think too, and it's quite hard because I have a lot of sympathy with the folks who are saying the government should not be allowed to tell us to close churches. I think that's an important point that to do with religious freedom. I understand when people say, and we do make that point to the government too. I don't think we're handing over our religious freedom to do that. I think it's unfortunate that they feel they have to actually even pass a law to make you close a church, because I think the same reasons the government would want us not to meet are the same reason a good pastor would want us not to meet. So it's almost a bit like, when the Lord tells you what you have to do, like because it's common sense, I still don't want to do it. So I think that if it became unsafe for folks in our church to come because they might pass it on to somebody else, we would be suggesting we didn't meet. And I think that's where I come from in that. And I do think, Suzanne, that it could end up. There's going to be a huge spike after Christmas. There's just two ways about that. But everyone's coming home at that. Kids in secondary school. If you've got a teenager in your home who's at secondary school, that teenager's 8 times more likely to bring COVID into your house than another adult. And and primary school children are 3 times more likely to bring COVID into your home than another adult. And that's without them having it. That's them just carrying it. So it's not going away, and the vaccine will take till the summer to roll out across the country. So it is possible. I hope it doesn't happen. But like we say, the only thing we're certain of is we can't be certain. But we do know that if it does close, that we do cope. We do know that actually the church thrives under it. And we found some churches I've seen more people saved by online than they had for ages otherwise. So if it happens, we'll see it as an opportunity. But I'm just flagging up that I hear what other people say about the worry about rights and stuff. I hear that, but I think it's responsible citizens will obey the government, and because it's not an unreasonable thing. If it's only Christians we're picking out, I think we'd have to say something, but it's not. It's even football not allowed. when they stand up against football teams, you know they're serious about something. So does that answer the question? Okay, Tam. You don't know I'm looking at you. I realise that. I often when I'm on Zoom, I look at the person and I think they know I'm looking at them, but yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, thanks, Dave. So, Min, you've asked about, from those that are in this Zoom meeting, how many churches have reopened. I guess that's what we want to find out from the survey, actually. So that is what we're asking, that same question across our churches. So that's part of the reason we wanted to do a survey, was to try and get a bit more of an accurate picture around that. In terms of the percentage of Elim Church in the UK, Dave, I'm not sure we would know that, would we, in terms of how many churches have opened across Elim in the UK?
My feel is that the majority of churches have opened to some extent or another, I think well, if you have not opened, start the service in any time since we were allowed to, wave at us now, and if you look at different, but just wave and we'll see how many people have not opened. Well, not at all. 1, 2, 3. I mean that's 6 out of 50. So that which would make 12%, which means 88% of you are opened. That would be about right. I find interested some of the bigger churches haven't opened. They haven't gone to full services. They've sort of live streamed with a partial congregation, but on the whole, so that's roughly straw poll. I worked out about 80%, more than 80% of the churches are opening. And that's my feel too.